All that being said, I would now like to turn it over to our pastor, who is our president of the Center for Economic Empowerment at Love Zion, and he is going to give us more background information about the mission of our Community Development Corporation.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in this, the first of a series of webinars. We launched the Center for Economic Empowerment earlier this year, or toward the end of last year. Our first in-person event was called Securing the Bag 2020. That was a success. And now, due to our current conditions, we're moving everything to the web until such time as we can plan some more in-person events. But we were actually planning on doing some web events anyway, so this kind of fits in line with our timeline anyway. Excuse me, I'm trying not to sneeze while I talk. In addition to a pandemic, it's allergy season, so we're catching it from all kind of different angles. The purpose of the Center for Economic Empowerment is just what the name suggests. It is to empower, specifically targeted the people of North Philadelphia in the area surrounding the Love Zion Baptist Church, but we also have opportunity to be an impact on many far beyond those borders, and this is an example of what we're doing this evening. Our goal is to attack poverty, attack even complacency that will stagnate people's growth toward financial stability. And we're looking to do that. We consider it not only part of our mission, but we consider it part of our ministry. We believe in justice, and there is no justice without economic justice. In order to have other means of justice, we really have to talk about what it means to have economic justice, economic stability in our communities. So that's what we're here for, and we're looking forward to some valuable information that's surely needed in this time. Even those who have been on sound financial ground are facing uncertainty because of what's going on in the current environment. So we're glad to offer this as a means to help someone get through this difficult season, and not just to survive, but we want people to thrive. So we're grateful. Thank you so much to Jasmine Williams, who is our presenter for today, and I know she has some excellent information to us. And thank you to all of our board. I see many of our board of directors for the Center for Economic Empowerment are on today. Thank you all for your participation, and please spread the word. We're determined. We're not charging for these events. We want it to be open to as many as possible, and now you can do it from the convenience of your home. So it's even more incentive to be a part of this series. But we're glad to kick it off tonight with this session on maintaining our credit during a pandemic. So thank you so much again, and we're looking forward to what is to come this evening, and to come at the end of this, we're going to have some more information about our future webinars, including the next one in the month of June. But until then, let's be attentive, and I'll pass it back to Jessica.
Thanks, Pastor. As Pastor said, again, first in the series, and we are looking forward to bringing you guys not only responsive information that you can use right here and now during this time, but also information that will translate into what happens after this, the new norm that will come up after this. We still want to make sure that we're prepared for and using all of this great information. So thank you again to all the board members for the Center for Economic Empowerment. I did copy in our email address. If you want more information about the Center for Economic Empowerment, or you just have any general thoughts or comments about what your needs are or what you feel like community needs are during this time, please reach out to us and let us know, so again we can continue to be responsive by bringing workshops or any other resources that we can to all of our social media and media outlets during this time. So with that being said, I would love to introduce Jasmine Williams. For those who know her, know that she is a powerhouse. If you are not friends with her on Facebook, should be friends with her. One, she's funny. So you'll definitely get some good information from her there. But two, she's just a powerhouse. Like, she's always in everything. And she's really working it out. She's a great inspiration and role model for sure. So just some information about her, which is on the screen. For over 8 years, Jasmine Williams has been a noteworthy leader in the Philadelphia real estate and community space. In this recent year, she has established a real estate team in the Philadelphia area. She serves on KW Philly Agent Leadership Council Board of Directors. She's a board member of the Cheltenham African American Alliance and an active member of the Cheltenham School District PTO. She has also started Green Mom Foundation to expose children to arts. And Jasmine's how-to guide to purchasing a home will be published on Amazon Bookstore with hopes to reach national participation. And I was able to get a few copies of this book to some of our participants at our Securing the Bag workshop, and they love it. It has a bunch of information. So please reach out to her about that book. On top of all of this stuff, she's a mom and she's always on the run, and she has properties and investments and just all this other stuff going on. So when I say she's a powerhouse, I mean it for sure. I'm going to turn it over to Jasmine and allow her to start sharing her screen so that we can see her PowerPoint. But I would also like to add, as she gets started, that after this is over, we do have a special opportunity for you to continue being educated in credit recovery through a course that Jasmine has to offer. And if you stay through the entire webinar, we'll tell you exactly how you can get that information and be a part of her course for free through donations given to the Center for Economic Empowerment. So you want to stay on until the very end so we can get you that information so that you can be a part of her course and continue on your journey towards financial empowerment through what she has to offer as well as what we have to offer here. So with that being said, I am turning it over to Jasmine. And Jasmine, feel free to share your screen, and I'm going to highlight you here so that we can all gain all this information you have for us.
Cool, thank you. I appreciate it. So I am going to start with the slideshow, but I want to know who I'm talking to. So in the chat, if I could just get some hands up to see how many people are struggling right now with being in this pandemic and having some credit challenges. Don't be shy. If you don't want to put in there, I want to make sure that we cover a lot tonight, because the one thing about being in this time of uncertainty is that we are really trying to figure out and navigate, and we need to be in this together, because the resources and things that we're sharing could really benefit us all. So what I did was I started something called on Facebook called the Philadelphia Financial Hub, which is basically a space where people are able to share resources. You know, when the pandemic was first, or the stay-at-home order was first announced, there was just so many resources coming out, you know, like coming to us all at once. So I wanted to have like a centralized space for folks to be able to say, okay, this is where this is and things. And so I started that, and it's free. You can go in there and join, and I'm always posting things and getting content out to you guys so that we know how to handle these situations. Okay, cool. All right, so as Jessica shared, I am a realtor. I've been a realtor in the Philadelphia space for over 11 years. I have a team. I recently, about 3 years ago, became a full-time real estate investor. So I'm actively buying and holding property for rentals. And I also have scaled it up to do Airbnb for myself. And then I'm also a mom of two. I have an 18-year-old and a 12-year-old. And so we're just figuring out life and getting through. And then the last thing that I always like to share on these things is I've been broke before, right? And so the reason why I share that is I think that a lot of times when someone's in my position as the presenter, it's kind of like folks think that, oh, well, you know, she's gotten to this point and now, and, you know, and she didn't have to like climb that large set of stairs to get there. And that's just not the case. I've been all types of broke. And so the reason why it's so important to me to get this message out to people to be able to maintain good credit and financial health is because I've been there and I know how it feels to not know. And so in this pandemic where folks are literally going crazy because there's just so many things that are uncertain, it's important that we get this message out to folks that there is hope. It's going to be okay. We just need to go ahead and plan and get through this together. So we're going to cover some budgeting, definitely organizing debt, and then figuring a way out of this, with this pandemic, and trying to figure out some different ways that we can go ahead and survive this. So the first thing that I always tell folks to do, and especially our clients, our client check comes in from people that want to repair their credit so that they can purchase a home. And so when they're doing that, a lot of times the core of the reason why their credit went bad was because they did not have a strategy, or they didn't have a budget to start with. So a budget is something that it's very serious. It sounds serious. So I put a spin on it and call it a money plan. So that money plan is basically literally you telling your money where it's to go, what it's to do, how it's going to act. You're going to put it, you're going to list out every item that you do. We do have a spin-off course, and it'll be available for the course that the organization has gone ahead and donated for, but it will detail out, but that money plan will allow us to be able to make a plan so that we know exactly where we stand. And this is going to help in the pandemic tremendously, because we are going to have to prioritize and figure out what we need to do in order for us to go ahead and see which bills we're going to pay and which ones we're not going to pay, and get a plan on to figure out which ones to do. We're also going to go over, as a part of the 3-part strategy, the debt snowball. So the debt snowball is something that we use the debt snowball in order to be able to get out of debt a lot quicker and have a plan. So it's not just you kind of paying off credit cards or putting extra money on. With that strategic plan, we're able to get to the meat of really being able to conquer our debt. And then, of course, the last thing is making extra money. During this time, I've seen a lot of people being able to make extra money, doing all types of things. I was talking to a client earlier, and she does Instacart, which is a delivery service for groceries. And it's booming. And the reason why it's booming is because so many people are afraid to go out. So they have, there's so many deliveries that are needed. Amazon is hiring part-time temporary work. There's so many places. And so we'll go over that towards the end, once I go over the strategy of how to organize your debt, how to organize your credit, and how to organize your debt. So of course we talked about the money plan and the budget. And then the snowball method is basically where you list all of your debt. Usually you're going to list your debt from the very smallest to the greatest amount. And so you're going to put it on a spreadsheet typically, and then you're going to put out all of the balances of the debt. So if you owe $100 and then $200 and $300 and then $500, you're going to list all of those things. When you list those, then you're going to, in the next category, and I can give you guys the spreadsheet of this. Maybe I'll share with you the spreadsheet. But you're going to list that debt out in order for you to be able to realize, figure out which ones you need to pay and what their minimum amounts are. So in the second category, you will list all of the minimum amounts that need to be paid. With that being said, you're going to go ahead and always, in normal circumstances, and I'll show you what I've been advising clients to do in these pandemic times. But under normal circumstances, you would always make your minimum payment. And then on top of that, you would take, if you have just say $50 or $100 extra to add to your credit card debt, then you would go and you would roll that over and start paying down your smallest balance first. and then the money that you would have had paid with the smallest balance, so that extra money and that minimum payment that you were paid on the smallest balance, then you roll that up into the next balance, and you keep rolling it and rolling it and rolling it until you're able to get out of debt. And so this is important, especially during a time like this, not to have as many lingering credit cards as possible. So this is like a preparation. God forbid we get into another pandemic situation like this, really being able to get out of this as quickly as possible. It's worked. I've used it. I'm still in the middle of rolling up to my student loans. And it's been one of those things that's been really helpful in debt reduction. Jess, should we wait till the end to ask questions, or should I ask questions? Should we have questions during the time?
Perfectly up to you. If you want to take questions now, that'd be great. Otherwise, we can wait until the end if you want to.
Does anybody have any questions so that on the debt snowball part of this? Okay.
So on the debt snowball,
Hi.
the basic steps are, like with your budget, you're going to list all your debt in one column. You're going to create a balance at the bottom of all that. You're going to create another column that has the minimum balance for each of those occurrences. And then after that, you're going to allocate a certain amount of monies to the lowest debt first and keep it paying that until it's gone, and then roll over to the next one and the next one and the next one, as opposed to creating a extra amount to pay on each one. You're just going to take the lowest at a time and get rid of that one, and then roll over to the next one and the next one.
Yep. So I'm gonna share my screen to our snowball calculator. Hold on one second. Share it to here, and I will send this to Jess to disperse to everyone, because it's a really good tool. So when I'm talking to someone about credit repair, right, and we're telling them that they need to, in a credit repair situation, you need to typically pay down your debt to 10%. So any of your credit cards need to be at the 10% mark, because that's going to really get you to the optimal credit score while we're repairing and getting off the collections and other derogatory items. So this is what we do. We list this out first on this first spreadsheet. What we're talking about now is the debt snowball, right? And so with the money plan, you'll be able to see how much money you have left over every month that you can throw to the debt. So if you list out your rent, your utilities, even savings, your tithing, which is a huge important part of your budget and of your money plan, all of those things are listed there. And then whatever you have over, you're going to go ahead and throw at the debt. So this spreadsheet translates from what was on the first, right? And so just say we're just starting out today and you're saying, okay, I have $200 to start with, and then extra, well, I'll make it, just say you have $50, and I'll change it so you can see it. And then extra monthly, let's say you have an extra $100. Now, just so you know, on the, hold on one second. Okay. Hold on. Just so you know, the Victoria's Secret card was $100, the balance was $60. So because you had that extra one-time startup money, it's going to tell you to pay off that Victoria's Secret card, almost to the 10%. But then as it's going along, as you can see, like the Navy Federal card was $596, and the minimum payment is usually like 20%, and then you just pay down the balance. And as you can see, it kind of goes out. This goes all the way to your Navy Federal, that's another Navy Federal card that this person has, which is up to $10,000. And it's paying off of this stuff. So it'll give you the grid to show you how to pay it off. And this is up to 56 months. So 56 months is roughly, it's almost 5 years. So, but let's just say, instead of throwing an extra $100 at our debt a month, we throw an extra $350 to the debt. And so it would wipe out a lot of those small balances at first, and then shorten our time from 56 months to 37 months. So it would take 20 months off of that debt plan. And so when you do this calculation, basically it's taking the minimum amount that you would have on that first credit card, and it's just rolling it over. And then when you pay off this second card, then that's rolling the minimum payment and the extra payment over to this third debt. And then the same thing with the fourth and the fifth debt. So this calculator is just an Excel spreadsheet. I'm a dork, so I made this up. But it was something that is essential. I didn't make up the debt snowball. That's a Dave Ramsey thing, but I wanted to have a visual because most people can't visualize what I'm talking about, right? And so it's important that you take your time, and you really, if this is something that you truly are, you want to do, then you take your time and you say, okay, I can throw an extra whatever to it. And of course, if you have more money, you can throw to it and pay it off faster. But this is like your set thing, your set goal of what you're going to do. And look at it, if you had an extra $500 to put towards your debt, now you're down to 30 months, which is like 2.5 years. And this was a total of, this was maybe about $25,000 in debt. Does anybody have any questions from that?
Hi, I got a question. So if your snowball debt, is this just for credit cards? You don't have like your monthly bills on there, right? Because
No,
sometimes your monthly bills will be different.
Not your utilities or your like cell phone or anything like that. This is just for your credit cards.
Just for credit cards, okay.
Yeah, it can be for your credit cards. And you can also do like your student loans on this.
Okay.
But not for like your utilities. I guess you could put it on here if you had like a large utility bill that you're, paying down over time. Any of it that you plug in, it does, you can plug this in. The reason why the utilities don't necessarily work is because this also has the interest rate here. So with the interest rate, utilities don't typically have that. Right. So this accounts for interest of like, every time you're not paying it, the interest is tacked on to the
So every column you have here is for your debt. So I see you have debt 1, debt 2, debt 3, like that. Mm-hmm. And that's just for the credit cards you have. Do you have the formulas for that? Because that's really cool.
I told you I am a dork, so it took a while. It took a while, a long time, but
okay.
With credit card debt, the national average or the national minimum payment is 2% of what the balance is. So that's just how I came up with the minimum payment. You usually when you get your credit card bill, it's like usually like $25 or whatever, depending on what your balance is. So that's based on 2% of your actual balance, and that's how they calculate it. So I will definitely share this with all of our clients, and we do this together just like this on a Zoom call, because I think that visualizing this and seeing how much, like for instance, if you're like, okay, I don't have $500, I only have $50 to add to my debt. you see how much time this adds on down to this. So that goes all the way out to like 65 months or 66 months. And so that's that's a longer time if we just kind of get that money plan tight so that we can throw, depending on the client, I would tell them, okay, if you have an extra $200 left in your budget monthly, can we do something like a Uber or a Lyft to add maybe another $200 into our budget? And then we would do, now I messed it up. Okay. I might have messed it up. Oh, there it is. Okay. So there we go. So we'll do an extra $400 into it so that we can be reduced down into like a 34-month plan. And so not that you're in credit repair for that long. Credit repair only takes us about 6 months maximum to do. However, when you're talking about debt reduction, that's credit recovery, right? And so that recovery is, you have to get that debt down, and we just don't want to be we don't want to be slaves to our debt, to this debt anyway. So that's the reason why it's important to get out of debt. So I'll definitely share this with Jessica so that you guys can have a copy of this and be able to implement it and play with the numbers. It's really hard to break. You saw that I almost broke it, but it does reset, and you're able to go ahead and just kind of see where you will be at if something else happens. Any more questions?
Nope, that's awesome.
All right.
It's a great tool.
Good. All right. So then, so of course, when we're talking about being into our pandemic talk, we're talking about categorizing our debt and really figuring out which way or which bills we have to pay in order to survive. Now, credit score is very important. Even though it seems like forever, because our industry, real estate is closed, so it seems like we have not been on the real estate market for a long time, but it really has only been 2 months. So most major credit card companies and credit unions and banks have allowed people to not make credit card payments during this time. You just have to give a phone call. And so I do recommend that only if they're saying that they're just waiving the payments, not meaning that they're going to, you're not going to have to ever pay the debt, but you don't want it to be at the end of your forbearance or at the end of the time that you're going to have to pay 3 payments in one. It should only be that if you're going to have to miss, just say if your credit card bills are $100 each, when you get to the end of that forbearance, you should only have to resume payments, not necessarily make 3 payments. Because if we're coming off of a time where funds are limited, then we're not going to have that 3 times the payment, and we're going to mess up the credit anyway. So you want to be very clear with whoever you speak to, and whoever you speak to, it doesn't matter whether it's bank, credit union, or credit card company or whatever, you get it in writing. So they should be able to email you, fax, or mail you something that supports this what they're saying over the phone, and you keep that record. You always keep anything that's credit related as far as records for at least 6 months. So I'm sorry, 6 years. 6 years. So keep that in your records so that if you do have a great payment history, you're not going to get that ruined just because of some uncertain times right now. And then also you want to make sure that if those payments are able to be waived, you want to make sure that your insurance is paid. That's the most important thing during this time. God forbid something to happen, whether it be your car or your health, or something happen in your house and you let your insurance lapse during this time. That's something that is the most high priority that you have to pay. Other things, most utility companies are are waiving or allowing payments not to be made during this time, they get funds from the government to kind of float them through this time. So don't feel like, if you're struggling and trying to make ends meet during this time, make sure you contact them, let them know that you've been affected in some way. And don't feel bad that you're not making those payments. Just, again, make sure you get things in writing that they're going to allow you not to pay that payment, during the time of us being shut down. And then along with your categorizing, there may be some bills that you just want to pay now. For instance, I have a Toyota, and Toyota reached out and said that they wouldn't collect a payment during this time for 2 months. And I opted to go ahead and pay it because they were going to put the payment at the end. Anybody who knows, when you have a car, you want to kind of get out of that debt as fast as possible. So that became a high priority debt for me. You have to prioritize your debts so that you know exactly what's going to happen. And everybody is going to be different. So utilities may be your only debt, and that may be something that you want to go ahead and get on some sort of payment, or just even make some small payments towards it so that you can go ahead and be okay when things do open back up. But you want to categorize, and everybody is going to be different. Do you have any questions about categorizing debt? So, of course, again, it's really writing down your bills, prioritizing. These are the action steps that I would say that people need to take today. Calling your creditors immediately if you haven't already. Take some time to get in front of them and call them. And a lot of places have like email, and you can do an online inquiry if you can't get them on the phone. And then also take advantage of the free resources. There was a rent, everybody is probably in the Philadelphia area. There was a rent help hotline that went out that was active in Philly on Tuesday. It became active. I think it actually expires tomorrow. So I will share that with Jessica so that she can share that with you guys as a community. Because if you're renting and you need help, go ahead and get that. I know in the beginning of this, there was a lot of uncertainty because the mortgage companies were working with the landlords as far as their mortgage payments. But what I'm predicting is that when things do open back up, the courts are going to be jam-packed with people because people stop paying their rent. And eventually, you're going to have to pay. And so it's better to try to get the help now, especially since the city is offering it. You don't have to really provide much from what I hear. And then you can go ahead and get as much help as you possibly need for the rent payments. I think it's up to 2 months. Of course, if you're unemployed, file for unemployment. And then there's also some public assistance with food stamps and things like that to be able to help if you do have some money, or if you do have some extra funds that you don't have to spend them on the food, you can get the food stamps to help and then supplement some of the more high priority bills in order to kind of survive. And of course, one of the things that we do with our clients that's important is when they're in credit repair, we are always encouraging them to add extra income, because I think that a lot of times it's not that people set out not to pay their bills. They want to pay their bills, but life happens and something happens and you're just not able to do that for whatever reason. And I think that if you add more income to your monthly flow, then I think that it becomes a lot easier. So adding income from side hustles, or that have like a very little time investment. It could be like I talked about with like even Uber or Lyft, or any delivery services, Amazon and things like that. Those things can supplement, and you can do it on your own. I'm not necessarily a person that says that you should get an extra job, because quality of life is really important. So spending time with family and friends, and then also being able to, just have some of your me time. I think that's important. So I'm a strong advocate for people starting like side businesses and things like that to supplement their income. But if you do have to, a second job may be an option. Found money, a lot of times, what I encourage people to do, especially people that are on social media all day, they go ahead and in Facebook groups or Facebook Marketplace, there's always a category for free stuff. Go get the free stuff and then put it on like an offer up and resell it. I've had clients make thousands of dollars doing that. And it's just found money because this was offered free. You cleaned it up, you put it back onto the, to someone for someone to buy it. It could be an Amazon store. It could be on Facebook Marketplace. It could be on OfferUp. There's a bunch of apps and websites that you can resell stuff on. And so that to me is a lot more important, to kind of add income as we can. And of course, residual income. Jessica was telling you guys about me writing a book that brings me so much residual income. And I did that just one time. And so I think that it's important that we kind of look at things that we're really good at, and usually explaining something to someone is a very valuable source. So writing ebooks and things like that. I have a woman who created a planner and she put it on Amazon, and she gets like $200 to $300 a month from Amazon. A check comes every month and she's able to just keep supplementing. So if you guys have me back, I'll show you how to put together ebooks and things like that. It's really easy. In most cases, it doesn't cost a whole lot of money to do that. And then of course, the one that we hate is belt tightening. So something that we're not really a fan of, but sometimes it's needed to go ahead and just buckle down. We don't really have anywhere to go. So saving money, I've found myself that I've saved a ton of money on gas because we don't have anywhere to go. So, tightening your belt during this time is going to be essential to getting to the goal of kind of just staying above water. Does anybody have any questions? No questions for me? So I just literally just wrote out this plan of action for folks. We'll definitely share these slides with you. But I think that it's a good start. There's so many resources out here to be able to help you stay above water. I think that during this time and maintaining your credit is going to be a simple thing to do if you just communicate with your creditors. Most creditors have even stopped reporting to the credit bureaus during this time because it's just so chaotic. So if you tell them that you're not able to pay, they're going to work with you. The utility companies have been very cooperative. The water department, I know, is just helping people with just telling you don't have to make a payment. Student loans, you don't have to pay student loans. All student loans are in a forbearance until September. So it's an excellent time to really just sit down. And if you're home and you just don't know what to do, it's an excellent time to sit down and work on a budget. Because when you do get back to work, you want to be able to maintain and manage your money to the point that you're going to be able to, at least come up with an emergency fund for things like this. Nobody would have even thought that this would happen. And that's pretty much it.
I do have a question. This is Tara, how much money should you start with your emergency fund?
I would say about $1,000. Most emergencies are not over $1,000. So typical emergencies are like your car breaks down, or a kid gets hurt and you have to pay some extra medical bills or things like that. Typically, I would say $1,000 is a great starting point. Of course, it can be more, but I think $1,000 is amazing. And if you don't have an emergency fund, I would tell you to go ahead and get to an emergency fund as fast as you possibly can by any means, meaning some of those things that I talked about with adding extra money adding savings and things like that. We're not at the point now that we have to start selling stuff like, our belongings and our jewelry and things like that. But things that we don't use, like old computers and things like that, people use that stuff for parts. You can sell that stuff and get to your emergency fund and put it away. The one thing that I recommend with an emergency fund is that it's at a bank that you don't frequent. So it shouldn't be at the bank that you are really close to, like a Wells Fargo that's close to my house. My credit union, Navy Federal, is in Willow Grove. So it's not too far, but it's far enough that I'm not just going there just so that I can go to Target. You know what I mean? Like, it's far enough that I can just really set apart. And then if you're really don't trust yourself with your funds, then use some of the online bankings. I like Capital One 360 because you can put the money there, the money is there, and then it takes 48 hours for it to get into your account. So a lot of those impulse spending, things like that, you really can't do that. A lot of times on our apps, especially if you have your savings and your checking in the same space, you can transfer that money over really quickly while you're at Target, and you say, oh, I'm going to put it back, and you never do. So it's important to kind of train yourself to get to the point to do that.
Okay. Also, another question. If you have like an old creditor who's trying to get in contact with you and you don't have the money, what's the best way to other than telling them that you don't have it right now? Is there any other way that we can get them off our back or off my back?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So if they're contacting you and you've asked them not to, the next time that they contact you, you would just record that time and the person that's calling you. And then there's a website. It's the Consumer Finance Agency. And that's a federal website that basically protects folks like us, that you can file a complaint. And as soon they'll get that complaint within like 24 hours. And believe me, they will never call you again.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Anybody else have any questions for me?
Hi, I have a question.
Hi, how are you?
I just paid down my credit card in full, and my credit score actually just dropped 40 points from it. What should I do from there?
Got to spend some money. So the one thing about credit is not only is it based on you paying your bills on time, paying, the longevity of your credit. They want to know that you're actually going to responsibly use your credit. So paying it off to zero, I know people are like wanting to get to like that magic zero number. It's not, when you're building credit and we're trying to maintain credit, it's going to give you a huge hit. So you need to put something on there that's reoccurring, that that you can pay off every month. So, Netflix, gym memberships, things like that you're able to pay off like quickly, that you have the cash for it. You have to spend something on that credit card right away, because if they see that you're not using it, they're gonna figure that you don't have, you can't responsibly use credit, and that's an issue for most creditors.
Okay.
So you're saying that you should basically, if you buy something with your credit card, even though you paid it off, and you buy a little bit of something and then go right ahead and pay off the next time you get the bill or before you get the bill?
You should always, so if you're getting your bills, most people's credit card statements come out in and around the first of the month. So when you get the credit card statement, that's the magic of building, people that have like the 800 credit scores. They pay it when they get the bill, and they don't pay it by the due date. The due date sometimes will overlap what the reporting date is. So
Okay.
So you want to pay it when you get the bill around the first.
Okay. Thank you.
And just try to keep it at that 10%. That's really a good rule of thumb. People, they want to see that you have the credit, and if you need to use it, you use it. But also, not that you don't use it at all. They want to see that it's just used responsibly. And also, when you're when you're putting anything on your credit card, once you actually pay down your credit card, you want to also use the credit card for things that are going to generate you money. So if it's a business, or if you have a business or something like that, we do recommend that you do build business credit, and we do that with our clients. But when you're using a credit card, typically people put like big ticket items on a credit card. And really, if you're getting out of debt, and if you've been in debt like I have, you don't want to put big ticket items. So like, if you're buying like a living room set, or furniture and things like that, you don't want to do that, because that's going to get you into debt a lot sooner. I know a lot of people see like when you walk into like a Best Buy, and it's like, oh, you can make 18 payments before any interest and things like that. It typically doesn't work out like that. The interest is how they get their money. So there's some hidden fees and things like that that you don't realize, and you're paying towards it. So it's more, in my opinion, it's better for you to go ahead and pay cash for things and use credit cards above and beyond in any emergency situation. So it's good to have credit cards because we need them to rent cars, hotels, and travel and things like that. But that stuff should be able to be paid off right away, because interest is huge. Unless you have a really low interest credit card, you're typically going to be paying, sometimes double or triple the amount that you actually charge on the card.
Is it true that like store credit cards are not as good as regular credit card, like a MasterCard or a Visa? They're, you know what I mean?
It depends
Because
on
I have store credit cards, and I'm trying to get, like, I paid one off, and I have another one. I'm going like two more to pay off. And I don't have any regular credit cards. And I have Credit Karma, and they keep telling me to apply for a credit card, like a regular credit card. Should I do that or shouldn't I?
So, okay, a couple things. Credit Karma is a educational credit site. So and also it's a marketing site. So Credit Karma, every time that you click on the thing that says, "Oh, you have a good chance of getting approved for this credit card," they get paid. So it's strictly for marketing. They're able to get what they call the Vantage score, pennies on the dollar. And so when Credit Karma is going to urge you to get the credit cards, if you don't need like a MasterCard or things like that, don't get it. Unless you're looking to purchase a home, because mortgage companies want to see a mix of credit. There's no need for you to have it unless you need it. Um, you will build your credit up faster, but if a score is not important to you, then it really, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really make sense for you to put yourself in debt just to have the score. A lot of people kind of get hung up on the score, and it's just like, if you have what you need, then there's no reason to get extra debt just to get it. But if you're getting to a goal like buying a house or something like that, then you will need to have some sort of like major revolving credit card, and that's like a MasterCard or a Visa. And store credit cards, they don't really build your credit, because you're usually at a set amount, and the interest rate is usually really, really high. So it doesn't necessarily build you up a lot. But if you're just using it just because every time you use your Macy's card you get 25% off, then just use it for what you're using it for and go from there.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem. Absolutely. Did I see a question in the chat box? Hold on. Okay. I have a private question. So it says, I have four cards with the same company, ranging from $250 to $5,000. Should I combine them and pay them in one payment, or is it better to keep them all separate with Debt Snowball, the smallest to the biggest. So I'm assuming that it's probably like a credit union or something like that, where you have all of the four cards. If they'll let you combine it, it depends on the interest rate. As long as they're able to let you combine on the lowest interest rate that you have available, then get that low interest rate. If they're gonna say, well, no, it's gonna be the highest, then just snowball them out so that you can get rid of them fast.
Awesome. Are there any other questions? It is 8:04 and I want to respect everybody's evening. Are there any other questions for the good of the group for Jasmine before we close out very briefly? Going once, going twice? Okay. Most people in here know me and they know. But thank you so much, Jasmine. Oh my gosh, that was some great tidbits of information. Thank you so much for your time and your expertise in this area. It is really, really appreciated. I know some people may have some more information that they would like to get, and that is a great promo for the course that you offer. I stole this picture, by the way. She's probably like, how'd she get this picture? Found it on Facebook. But how you can continue on this journey with Jasmine. We had a donation given to us that we want to be able to sponsor at least the first 10 people who want to continue on this path, continue with Jasmine in this course. If you email us at lovezioncee@gmail.com by noon tomorrow, then we will make sure she gets not only your name, but your information, and we will pay for you to move forward with her in this course. We're going to start with the first 10, but if we get an overwhelming majority, like we have 18 people, then we will see what we can do to make sure that all of you can get in there. This is serious inquiries only. This is a commitment to your credit. This is a commitment to yourself and where you want to go moving forward. So we want to make sure that you're serious about taking this step. If you're just on the fence right now, you have our information and you also have Jasmine's information when she showed you. You can always reach out to us later, but if you're ready to take that step and get started now, then please, please, please email us right away. Just send a quick email right now and just let us know that that is what you're interested in doing so that we can make sure that you're in a position to move forward with Jasmine. Jasmine, is there anything you want to add about the course or anything like that?
Only that, like you said, the commitment. A lot of times when people take courses, we want to make sure that you see it all the way through, so that you know that it works. Getting out of debt is something that has become a passion of mine, because I know that the weight that it has on your shoulders if you're in it. So I'm very passionate about it. It's really important that we go ahead and get as many people into this process as possible so that we can be free. So I really appreciate you guys having me, and definitely I look forward. We're going to kick off the course on June 1st, so we're looking to have you guys for sure.
Awesome. And Vicky, who is watching right now, is a current client. She said you're awesome. So you have someone in here that's vouching for how awesome she is and amazing she is at what she does. So please, 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 I've already commented or added to the chat box our email address. So you can just click on it, copy it, and then make sure you send us your name and your information so we can get back to you. I also want to give you a promo for our next event that's coming up. We want to keep this momentum going. We want to continue to be responsive to the needs during this time. So we have a Millionaires in Training workshop coming up. If you were at Securing the Bag 2020, then you've been to one of Rachel Hannibal's Millionaire in Training workshops, and she is going to be with us on June 4th in about 3 weeks to do another Millionaire in Training workshop. This one particularly talking about how to save and plan financially during this uncertain times, how to rebound once we go back to a new normal or whatever normal might be, how to rebound with your budget and your savings just in case that got out of whack, and how to reevaluate your goals and your budget. So if you're thinking, once you even get your credit worked out with Jasmine, you can hop over to Rachel and start talking about budget. Like all of these things are connected. So you definitely want to keep that momentum going. So I also added that registration link into the chat box, so you can click that and already begin to register. That is up and moving, and will go live on all of our social media pages starting tomorrow. And lastly, I just want you guys to stay connected with us. We would love to continue to hear from you guys. One, I posted a link to our survey. We want to get your feedback from this session and make sure it was relevant and information that was useful for you. But two, we just want you to spread the word about the Center for Economic Empowerment at Love Zion. Our website is here, lovezion.org/CEE. You can visit us on Facebook. This video will be uploaded to our YouTube page, as well as some other asynchronous videos that we will be uploading that will have a bunch of resources for you guys. And again, feel free to email us at any time with any topics that you would love to hear about, resources that you need, or just connecting about how you can continue to take ownership and really empower yourself to move forward on your economic journey.